Hello and happy Independence Day, everyone. I am Kevin Horner, and this is Kevin's Corner. Thank you all for taking some time out from all of the parades and all of the cookouts and joining me for Kevin's Corner today. I figured we would just jump right into a topic, especially since this is a day that hopefully you're celebrating with all of your family, all of your friends, all of your loved ones. And it's sort of a conversation that people never want to have, but it's worth having, and today is a good day to start thinking about it. This is, of course, the dreaded the talk the talk. And everyone knows what I mean by this without really fully defining it. It's simply having that conversation with someone in the family about making sure, do you have an estate plan? Have you thought about what happens to you after you pass away? Have you thought about who's going to be in charge of things if you can't manage them yourself? Have you thought about how you're going to pay for long-term care and where you want to live as you age? All of those dreaded conversations that people put off. We have calls all the time of, from the hospital, mom or dad, they don't have a will. This is kind of their last chance. Can we do something? Or we have, God forbid, this situation, it's time to withdraw life-sustaining treatment. And yet they don't have a will, so we're trying to hang on until that happens. Or it's time for elder law services, but the clients had dementia for 5 years and never really put together their own estate planning documents, or they haven't done it in a very long time, and it might be too late. These are the kinds of situations where maybe there's still something we can do, but it makes it much harder on the person and on the family to do it in those stressful circumstances. It would be much, much better to do it in advance. And a lot of times the reason why is because people never have the talk. And why don't they have the talk? Because it's not fun. It's the thing that everyone's dreading. It's never the right time for it. And yet it's a conversation that needs to be had. So today, I figure while you're all with family, this is a good time to be thinking about it. And I would give 4 ideas to help have this conversation and to maybe make it go a little bit smoother. Okay. So first, schedule time, start small. What I'm basically saying here is you don't need to go in between, say, the hamburgers and the apple pie and say, hey, Dad, you have an estate plan. Why not? It doesn't need to be like that. It could be, hey, you know what? I was watching this great segment on Facebook called Kevin's Corner. We talk about estate and elder law issues. And it got me thinking, hey, do you have an estate plan? I'd like to talk to you about that. Why don't we not do it right now, but why don't we do it next week and set a time and just get the conversation started. And when you actually have the conversation, you don't need to jump into specifics. You don't need to say, okay, who are the beneficiaries? Do you have this document? Do you have this document? Do you have this document? You just need to start the conversation of, have you thought about this? Have you talked to your estate planner? Have you talked to even your financial advisor, your CPA? Have you talked to other people who would be in this conversation about making sure that their estate plan is in the right place, that their long-term care is in the right place? Have they had those kind of conversations? And just get the ball rolling with the conversation. Another really good one that maybe is a little bit more specific that you do want to have is having the conversation of, what do you want in terms of life-sustaining treatment? What do you want from medical care? That's something where people always say, oh, they know what I want. Right? I hear that 1,000 times. Parent says, kid knows what I want. They'll do the right thing. And you hear this in estate planning when they get left money and don't leave it to somebody else. And you hear it with healthcare decision making. They know what I want in the situation. I'm sorry to tell you, parents, the answer is they definitely do not. The few times that people tell me that from the kids level that I know what mom or dad wanted, it's almost always contrary to the estate planning documents in place, or perhaps maybe a little bit more what the kid wanted than what the parent wanted. So I think it's much, much better just to have a good estate plan that says exactly what you want, and then there's just no problem, okay? So that's getting a little bit ahead of myself, but start by just scheduling the time. Don't do it today, but schedule the time today, and then start that conversation, get that ball rolling. The second one is to make it about empowerment, okay? This is not about the beneficiary. I'll use myself as the example today. It's not about me making sure more money gets to me or me making sure that it gets to me easier or it's simpler for me. That is maybe a side benefit of good estate planning where it is simpler for your beneficiaries. And for some people, that's the primary reason why they do it. They want it to be easier on their family. That's perfectly fine. That's not the reason why I'm having it. I want to make this about the loved one. It's about choice. It's about saying in your estate planning document, this is what I want. I want my money to go here. I want this person in charge of it. I want this in my long-term care. It's important to me to live as autonomously as I can. I want to live independently as I can, or whatever that person chooses. It's about them taking control of it and exercising the choice. So make it about them. It's about empowerment. And with that, it's also kind of about privacy, right? Because other than some of the healthcare decisions I described, and maybe some general conversations or more specific conversations that at some point the loved one will want to have with you, in the beginning, it's just about what they want and getting that effectuated, getting that to happen for them. And then the third is make it about family. You don't have to make it about money. It's not the conversation of, so how much money do you have, mom or dad? It's not that. It's not how much money necessarily starting here. How much money do you have for long-term care? Eventually, you might get there. But for the beginning, it's about who do you want this to go to? Another reason why people don't end up having estate plans is because I hear this, I don't have an estate. What they mean by that is, I don't have a lot of money. That's not the point. The point is, what do you have? What do you care about? Who do you care about? Who do you want to get it to? That could be pennies or it could be multi-millions. And the method how we get it there is where the money comes into play. You do it differently with multi-millions than you do it with less. But the point is, whatever you want to get to the family members you want. We talk about all the time in Gallagher Manning how we're legacy planners, and it's about building from the generation to the generation. It's not just about money. It's about building from generation to generation. You see that more in the elder law, where it's not just about saving money for the grandparents or for the elderly parents. It's about making sure their needs are taken care of. It's about protecting them, caring for that generation, as we absolutely should. And so it becomes, in that point, much more about family planning than it is about the dollars and cents. That's secondary to everything. And then fourth is getting educated. Okay, now you always have to be a little bit careful about this because the internet has all kinds of good information. The internet has all kinds of bad information. I know you're going to go to the internet first, right? Everyone's going to Google estate planning topics or something like it. That's where you're going to start. Keep in mind a couple things. There are good places to get information, say hypothetically Kevin's Corner, or on our website, GallagherManning.com. We're starting to host videos, and we have estate planning topics. We have newsletters. We have resources. We have things that get a lot more specific than I can be in 8 or 9 minutes on Facebook about things you need to consider. And so going to get educated about those helps facilitate the conversation, okay? And by that same token, keep in mind with the internet, if you do Google, you might even get good information, but every state has its own laws. So there's federal taxes that dictate some of this, but a lot of it is state law. And so I'm admitted in 4 states. Depending on the question is, if someone asks me this and say, okay, what does the law say about this? Well, the answer depends on which state you want to know the answer to, right? You could have 4 answers to the same question. And so a lot of times the internet's generic, it's general, it's not specific to what your circumstances are or the rules that you're following. So that's why it becomes important to go and have a conversation with your estate planner, your trusted advisors, your financial advisors, your CPA, your insurance salesman, et cetera. And then you have that really specific conversation of all this information. What does it mean to me? Okay. And then that's what actually brings it together to get a good, solid estate plan. All right. So I'm going to rehash that just a little bit. First, schedule a time, start small. Second, you want to make this about empowerment. You want to make it about what that person wants. Third, you want to make it about family. This is not about dollars and cents. It's certainly not the start. It's about family and having the right choices in place. And then fourth, it's getting educated. So hopefully those are good 4 tools to help you have this conversation. Like I said, you don't need to go and corner the family today at the family function, but I do think it's a good idea to say, hey, I just watched this, and this raises a really good point. We need to have this conversation because it's about you, and we want to make sure you're taken care of and your needs are met and your goals are met. So why don't we set a time next week and we'll have this conversation, okay? If you go through this conversation and you want to have any follow-ups, if it's time to go and talk to the trusted advisor, we're certainly willing to do that. You can get a hold of us through through our website, GallagherManning.com, or through Facebook. You can also call our office and you get a free consultation, and we can talk about how to implement all those conversations into a good estate plan. So I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining me today. This is a very important topic, and hopefully you can put it to good use today. I also want to say I hope everyone has a great Independence Day and enjoys this wonderful country we do enjoy. And I also hope that everyone is safe and that everyone has a great time. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.